Good to Master podcast. It's been a little while. Paul's currently skiing for a week. I had a week up north to see my folks during half term. So we did a couple of bolt action games, and I talked about getting into bolt action. I've got a airborne army that was painted kindly by Rid. This is going to be a mid-war. I'm going to aim for the mid-war, and I'm going to go probably all grey so that it can fight early war with the right equipment, mid-war and late war. They didn't really have grey uniforms. I'll talk about in another video why they didn't have grey uniforms, because I found out some history. But we're going to stick to what to do if you want to get into war, into bolt action. First thing you need to do is get an... I'd probably dodge the 2-player starter set, if I'm being honest. You do get a rule book, but you can play with just a play sheet if you must. And I would get a starter army instead. There's tons to choose from. I chose a SS Waffen, mainly because of what's in the box, if I'm being honest. And you get a couple of vehicles, you get a load of stuff. Yeah, so this is the one I chose. They're about £100, so whatever that is in dollars, and you can get about 20% off from your friendly local game store or online or whatever. So I think I paid slightly, I paid around £80 for it, maybe a little bit less. Anyway, we're going to open it up, and I'm going to do some separate videos talking about the other stuff I've bought around it, and then I will do a video about kind of an army list, but that probably won't be this week. So we'll look at what is in a Waffen-SS army bolt action starter box. It gives you a kind of list. This is a second edition list, I guess, of stuff you can build with what's in it. It claims to be about 1,500 points. I don't think the points have changed dramatically between editions, so it should still be around that kind of pointage. And we will open up and see what we get in the box. Hopefully it's not too shaky, but it's going to be a little bit shaky while I open it, I guess. Okay, and little GW scraping tool. I've still not found a bloody use for this. It's an awful thing. But I guess as a box opener, it's not terrible. Right, what do we have in here for your £80? Well, for a start, if you're comparing it to some other manufacturers, maybe Grandma Wendy or something, you get a lot for £80 is what you get. So we have here, this is a Tiger. That's cool. In this game, I mean, I wouldn't really want to push it any further than a Tiger. I'd probably feel quite cheesy using a Tiger most of the time. You can bring it mid-war. Obviously, stuff's going to struggle against it mid-war because they don't really have a lot of big guns to take it out. I mean, they didn't really have a lot to take it out late war, if I'm being honest. So you get a Tiger. I wonder what scale these are, because I do a bit of 3D printing. I kind of 3D printed all my American armour. And I've got a feeling, I need to measure this up, I've got a feeling these are probably more towards the 1/46 scale than the true, like, I mean, not that there's a true scale for bloody 28mm. That's the problem, isn't it? It goes from like 1/64 to 1/48. I think I tend to print about 1/56 generally, but I'll have to try and do a little bit of work, because I printed a little armoured car for my Germans, and I compared it to Paul's bolt action Warlord armoured car, the exact same thing, and it was considerably bigger, his one. So I reckon it's probably about 1/48 scale. Which is interesting, because I'm pretty sure the men are true 28mm scale, which is 1/56. But I guess a lot of games take liberties with armor just to make them look a bit more intimidating on the battlefield. So we've got a Tiger there, Tiger 1. We've also got a Stug. So this, as I said, this was the reason I bought this, because a Tiger and a Stug, it's about as much armour as I'm ever going to take in a normal game. And I think this Stug you can take as the kind of the early howitzer version, and obviously then it's going to have some bigger gun versions. It's got the Scherzen. It's quite a nice little vehicle, a Stug. Equally, I mean, as good as any Sherman can be. And I mean, the pricing in this game is all much of a muchness. So if it's got a certain gun on it and it's got a certain amount of armor, it'll be a certain amount of points. Say 225 for a heavy gun on a 9+ medium tank frame, and that kind of rolls across all variants, all different army lists. So, but you get a Stug and a Tiger, which is like, that's a lot of armor. You're probably not going to need any more armour than that. You now need to run 2. So that is one thing you need to say is that it used to be you only could really run 2 and you never really would. But now, because the games are 1250, it appears, and to run armour you have to run them as a pair. You would need 2 tanks, and the Tiger one and the Stug is probably as good a pair of tanks as you could buy, really. It's probably going to cost you like 500 points out of your 1250, but yeah, so that's why I bought this particular set. You also get a Pack 40 anti-tank gun, which I think is a heavy anti-tank gun, and it's a 4-man team. It's obviously not super heavy like the bloody 88, but heavy anti-tank gun's as good as it gets, really, for most people, for most armies. It's the equivalent of a Stug, so that's good. Hopefully I'm getting all these things right, that I'm just riffing. You get a medium mortar. So medium mortars are pretty good. Although again, you've got to take a special platoon now to get those into the army, in the same way as a flamethrower. It used to be you could get a flamethrower, a medium mortar, heavy machine guns, all these kind of things just fit in an infantry platoon. Now you've got to take a separate platoon to take a medium mortar with its own commander. You get what's this one here? You get MMG, so a medium machine gun, which again has to go in a separate platoon, but now you've got enough with these 2 to run that platoon, because you need 2 things, and those are the 2 things. What else have we got here? We have some decals. So we have some SS infantry decals and some armour decals, one for the Tiger and one for the Stug, I guess. So a little look while we're here. Just this decal sheet 1. This one specifies Tiger. Okay, and then we have bases. One base. I guess this is for the gun. Probably need a couple more bases to put the MMG teams on, but I can just print that. Oh no, there's some down the bottom there. Look. So hopefully there's 3 bases there. If not, I'll just print a base up. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 6 frames. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I thought there was 5 frames. I thought it was 30 men, but it appears to be 6. So either they miscounted and chucked an extra one in, or maybe there's a command frame. I don't think so, though. So it says bolt action Waffen-SS. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 torsos. Nobody's lying down, which is great because I can't stand the lying down models. This guy's kind of kneeling, which is fine. Kneeling, I mean, there's lots of poses for kneeling. Lots of things you can be doing while you're kneeling. Shooting, pointing. So you've got another Waffen-SS, another Waffen-SS, another Waffen-SS. I wonder if there's a command frame. Waffen-SS. And Waffen-SS. So I was sure it was only 30 miniatures, but that's even better value, because some people were saying, oh, get this different one, Grenadier, Panzer Grenadier, because you get 36 miniatures rather than the normal 30. Well, there's 36 miniatures in here. I don't know if that's by accident or design. I thought it was, as I said, more than once now, 30 miniatures. So you get a variety of heads. If you can see, let's try and move this out of the way, because that's better to see. And we have with the 6 torsos. I think we've got assault guns, we've got rifles, got some LMGs. Obviously the LMGs are pretty cool for the Germans. They get to shoot an extra shot. You get some Panzer Faust, SMGs, assault rifles, more heads, lots of little bits and bobs to kind of stick on to make them look a bit different. Another RPG, another one. It's got loads of stuff on there, which I'll probably make them, as I said, mid-war, so I won't go mad on the assault rifles, which tend to be like, I've said it before, it's a bit like rapid-fire bolt rifles, isn't it, in 40k old school. They're just like way superior to most other people's personal weapons. You pay the points for them, 6 points each, so I'll probably not get too many of those, maybe just have one small squad of those. And in order to make them usable early war, I'll just focus on SMGs and then rifles. But yeah, really nice frame. So we have here 36 dudes, and they say you can make your office out of those dudes. Of course you can. 2 vehicles, a really nice anti-tank gun, a medium mortar, and an MMG. And you also get some bases for all of that, apart from that seems to be 1 base short, but that might be me. You get this stuff here is just to kind of mark vehicle damage, which is a really nice little touch. That you get 3 little bases and 3 little types of vehicle damage. So yeah, that's what you get in the box. What else will you need? Well, we'll talk about this in other videos, but you would definitely need a rule book, and that's going to cost you about £30. The rule book's really good value. It's got lists for everything in. You don't really need, I'll show you now. You don't really need a lot more than the rule book, if I'm being honest. The rule book is a big monster of a tome. So push this stuff out of the way. And towards the back, it has all the different army lists. And although I have bought the armies of the Germans, or whatever it is, you get everything you need to play in here. And I found that I was a little bit underwhelmed with the armies of the Germans, if I'm being honest. It kind of took away some of, strangely, when you get like an army book, it's supposed to bring more variety, and even though it's got more detail, I think it's actually brought less variety, because it kind of makes you do things that here are optional, and yeah, thematically it might not be great that they're optional, but in the army book they're no longer optional. So I'll give you an example of not Germans, but the US Airborne. So US Airborne now in the armies of America have to be veteran. Well, that can't be historically accurate. They can't all always have been veteran, but now they have to be veteran. So whereas you could have had a regular, and I have played games as regular because you get more stuff on the pitch. And that again is quite good fun to get more stuff on there. That's no longer an option. And now I've got like 60 or more infantry, and the chances of playing 60 infantry in a veteran game, I mean, the point level would have to be bonkers. Yeah, so that's quite disappointing. I would have liked the fact, yeah, maybe you could make them say, oh, okay, you've got to take, your first platoon's got to be veteran. And it could be a small platoon or whatever. But to say they've always got to be veteran, I mean, that's just it's a bit reductive, isn't it? If I'm being honest. So that's quite disappointing. It's the same thing happened with the Germans, with the SS. They've all got to be fearless, or whatever it is, the rule they've got. Again, that's not too much of an issue because of how they actually did fight. I guess that would have been a rule they had. So I don't mind paying the points for that. I don't feel that's that offensive. But anyway, we're not here talking about that. But we're talking about the fact that if you want to get an army box set, I would get yourself a rule book. And then you're going to need some order dice. There's not much you can do about that. The game relies on order dice. You're going to have to buy some. And that's it. I think order dice. You'll have some regular D6 around. You can have you need some kind of dice bag, like something like this, to put the order dice in. And then you're off and running. So this is the way I do it. It's going to cost you, for the rule book and an army box, what's that? You're going to go to about 100, and you'll get some discounts on it. So it'll probably be like more like 105, and you're going to need some dice. That's probably another 15. So about 120 quid all in. But that you can make an army out of this, no problem, because you can make your officers out of here, and you've got enough stuff to easily do 1,250 points. Okay, so that's the end of this first video. I'll talk about some other purchases on future videos, and then next week I will talk about the list I'm going to build, and yeah, that kind of stuff.